Hi, today I'm here with Dr. Veronica Tomor, author of L.E.A.N Guide for the Business Traveler. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thanks, Beth. I appreciate inviting me for the interview.
So tell me now, what is the difference between travelers and non-travelers as far as weight issues and health issues and how that, isn't it kind of the same?
No, actually, it's a much bigger challenge for the business traveler in terms of keeping your weight on track, because there's a lot of emotional triggers that cause people to eat more. People are under a lot of stress when they travel for business as well as for leisure. And these things lead to a lot of the self-sabotage that occurs when you travel for business or for leisure.
So give me some different scenarios about how people would eat on the road and what some of the challenges are.
Sure. So if you, for example, picture, I'm going to give you 3 examples of 3 different people that travel, picking a name here, John. John is a business traveler, and typical scenario is that he leaves for a business trip early in the morning at 5 in the morning, has a flight at 7, and has to run to the airport, is usually late. Business travelers usually plan their schedules, but typically run late. They get get to the airport, then have to go through security, then make it to their gate, and then usually the last thing on their mind is what are they going to eat. There's not a lot of thinking about what you're going to eat during the day, how you're going to eat during the day. You're planning your business plan, you're planning for your meeting, but the last thing on your mind is typically food. And again, when you do this week in, week out, typically you can gain weight very quickly because food is not a priority, your health is not a priority, and therefore it's very easy for a person to neglect themselves. And so if you think about John, again, putting him in perspective, he makes it through security, then finds out that there's a Dunkin' Donuts right there at the airport, so it's very likely to grab a donut, grab a cup of coffee, get on the plane, and then finds himself at his destination. If he's got a connecting flight, then probably he's going to be hungry again, probably going to grab and go again, and then get to the destination, might be 3 hours later, 4 hours later, and then realizes that he probably needs to eat something before his meeting, so probably going to grab something else. And usually it's typically another donut, or if you're not thinking about it, that's what you're doing. It's a pattern, repeat pattern of grabbing and going, and because you're in a rush and you have a meeting and you have other priorities, you're going to grab and go and eat garbage. So that's John. You might have another person, let's say Beth is traveling, and let's say that she's traveling for leisure, and Beth is going on a vacation, and she's actually been packing her bags, and she's very excited about her trip. And again, the last thing on her mind is what is she going to eat, because she's been focusing on planning this trip, and she's really excited, and she's going to go with her boyfriend, and they're going to have a great time. And so they want to have a great time. But what happens typically when you go on a trip is you give yourself that permission to indulge and overindulge. And so I always encourage, when you're going to travel, to plan, give a little bit of thought before you go on your trip, and don't blow it by eating garbage. And also put your health gear, or your workout gear rather. If you're a person that has a routine of working out, you don't want to be gone for a week and then just not do anything. You want to be able to incorporate some type of activity into your trip, because you're going to be overeating, and that's okay. You've earned it, right? And you've been looking for it and planning, so it's okay. But just budget your meals, spread them out more. If you're going to have a big dinner, then make sure that you don't have a big breakfast, a big lunch, and a big dinner. And also pack your fitness gear first. Pack your sneakers and your workout exercise gear, so you're thinking about it before you get on that flight or cruise or whatever, and you're already likely to be thinking about it more. So then let's just think about Larry, who's also a traveler, another business traveler. And Larry actually is, he's just a person who plans ahead, but typically, again, he plans for his business, and he does his strategic planning for his meetings, but he also tends to neglect incorporating his thoughts about how he's going to eat during his trip. The typical scenario is that Larry is, he made it to the airport on time. He actually is on the plane. He actually grabbed something not so bad to eat. He finds out that he's got a long flight because typically you get delayed. So he's connecting through Atlanta to his destination, and unfortunately there's a long delay there. So what does Larry find? He's stressed because he has a very important meeting, but also he's delayed. So now he's double stressed because he's got the delay, he's got to be at a meeting, and also there's all that time that he's got to kill in between. So he actually has to figure out what to do with all that downtime. And so he just figures that he's going to have a drink to ease the stress, and also he's going to have a meal because he's got all this time to kill. So this happens to be his second meal of the day, and actually he figures that he might not eat for who knows when. So he has a big meal and he has 2 drinks in between, and you know, that's another. He might not know when he's going to have his next dinner or meal. So a typical scenario is that you're going to find a lot of travelers that indulge in alcohol because it helps alleviate that stress, but it also helps people relax. And there's a lot of downtime. It is at a historical high in terms of the number of flight delays that we experience as business travelers. So alcohol is abundant at airports. It's almost encouraged because you see people drinking a lot, and that can add a lot of your caloric intake.
Which kind of leads into my next question is, when you're at the airports, how do you eat healthy at restaurants?
Yes, Beth. So it's a challenge, like I mentioned earlier, but it can be done. It takes a conscious effort, and it's surprising how the airport industry is now catering to the demands of the business, the savvy consumer who's demanding more and better, healthier options to eat on the go. So now instead of finding 1 option out of 6, you're able to find 3 or 4 healthier options. So it's all about being an informed consumer and just grabbing the right choices as you go. So as opposed to grabbing that donut, maybe you can have a bagel instead of that. If you're there's a number of fast food options where you have more salads, you have more of turkey sandwiches instead of pizza. What you're going to find is that they're side by side. So you're going to have the option of having your healthier choice on one side, and you're going to have the option of having the garbage on the other side, the pizza and the fried foods. And of course they're very tempting, but if you make a conscious decision, you can find yourself just being able to not self-sabotage. And again, it's the frequency of what you're doing that adds up, and that's the whole issue for travelers.
So how can we incorporate technology into our eating? Maybe there's some apps out there that can help us decide what to eat, maybe help us eat better. Is there something that you know of?
There's a number of tools that are available, a number of great apps that you can download, and most of them are very inexpensive, in the range from $2.99 to $10.99. So it depends on the sophistication of the app. But a lot of the tools that are available you can just download into your, or just buy from whatever site it is, and actually have in your gadgets. We have so many gadgets out there, the iPhone, the BlackBerry. So any of the tools that you use for your for communicating, you can use to download just a number of apps. So some of these are, for instance, Eat This, Not That is based off a book, and it's actually a very useful tool where you can actually look at calories, your fat, of the foods that you're selecting. And again, I'm all about the selection of the food, and so you plug in whatever your choice is, and it will tell you the fat and the calorie value of your selections. Another one is Live Strong by Lance Armstrong and his enterprise, and actually it tells you as you're exercising, it will give you the number of calories that you're burning. It also has a fat tracker. FitSync is another one. And you can actually look at, it's a caloric measure as well as food intake.
So sometimes I know when I'm out and about, there is only fast food. Fast food is the only choice. So is there something that I can choose that's on a fast food menu that's not laden with calories and fat? is actually somewhat good for me?
Absolutely. I'm one of these people that really is all about balance, and you know, I strongly believe that you can eat anywhere and you don't have to gain weight by depending on fast food. You know, you can eat at fast foods. It's just a matter of knowing what to eat. So I'm a big promoter of just some of the basics that I think that everybody just should know, but you need to be constantly revisiting these concepts and really have them very ingrained into your mind. And as you're making decisions when you're picking foods, then you know, click, it's there again. Okay, so I'm gonna order a salad and I'm gonna keep the dressing on the side. One trick that works for me is also not even pouring the salad dressing, the low-fat dressing on the salad, but actually putting it in a container and then dipping the fork in there and then spreading it on the salad, and that actually minimizes the number of calories on the dressing. Another one is, of course, when you're picking a sandwich, you know, keep the mayo. The mayo alone, a teaspoon, actually, sorry, a tablespoon is 100 calories just with 1 tablespoon of mayo. So it's a lot of calories that you add just with the additional condiments, and you'd be amazed. You can eat, you know, lots of sandwiches without having the condiments add on a ton of calories. Of course, fried foods, stay away from those. They're lethal.
So what is the healthiest airport, and maybe what is the healthiest chain that we can stay at when we're traveling?
Yeah, actually we're very fortunate that there's a committee out there that serves as a watchdog for monitoring airport food, and it's the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. This is a committee that for the past 5 years, I believe, they've been monitoring all of the restaurants and have been sort of grading airports restaurant food and sort of determining which is the healthiest airport, and now it seems like they're competing for the rating for the best score. So last year, Detroit Wayne Airport actually scored the highest.
That's actually surprising.
Very surprising, yeah. Detroit, Michigan Wayne Airport. They had a lower rating, and they increased their rating to #1. And then, unfortunately, Las Vegas Airport actually is rated the lowest. But of course, their focus is not food; it's on the gambling. So I guess they really need to improve that, and they really have to provide better options for people. You know, but of course, alcohol is prevalent in the airport everywhere, and you know, that's one of the biggest offenders for calorie and weight gain. So.
And what about the healthiest hotel chains that you can stay at?
Yes, the healthiest chain, actually you can't really say because they're all now competing to be the healthiest chain, and they are providing a lot of better options. The Hilton, in my mind, is one of the best chains out there because they have a menu that's color coded, and you can choose whether you want to be carb conscious or whether you want to be more of you know, high protein type of person, or depending on what, you know, what your options are. There's just a number of menu selections that are color coded at the Hilton chains and the restaurants for better choices, and I think they've done a great job at improving their selections, and their menus have been created by chefs, and they're doing just a real good job at making it easier for the traveler to eat better. And I think they're doing a phenomenal job. But the W, the Westons, and the Marriotts are also right there, also trying to provide and create signature menus for their patrons, which is actually what we need.
So if you could offer one piece of advice to our viewers for eating healthy while on the go, what would you offer? What would you recommend?
Well, I think the best thing you can do for yourself is really plan ahead. And again, it doesn't mean an elaborate process. It just means think about it before you leave the house, and just give it some thought before you get to the airport so that you don't grab and make poor decisions. Grab and make the right decisions. That's the best piece of advice I can give you. So it just takes a little bit of thinking. That's all it takes.
Great. Dr. Veronica, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with?
Yes, I really would encourage you to visit the site. So it's the L.E.A.N and it's not the L.E.A.N, it's L.E.A.N, L-E-A-N, traveler.com. And I've got a lot of useful information from seasoned travelers, a lot of tips and strategies to keep your weight on track when you travel, whether it's for business or for leisure. So again, L.E.A.N, traveler.com.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.